Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. I am super pleased and super excited about this evening. Welcome to HealthMary's Women Unseen and Unheard Take Back Control webinar. I am Dr. Chinwe Ude. I am the founder and CEO of HealthMary. I am HealthMary's CEO because as far as HealthMary is concerned, and in life in general, I try to lead and deliver all of our missions with grace, kindness, femininity, vulnerability of being a woman, but also with the intellectual and executive approach that it requires to run an enterprise like HealthMary. So do not let that beautiful smile on that slide fool you, because I do mean business. I have been part of the NHS for a very long time, as well as the private health sector. And I have been in national leadership and clinical roles. And I perfectly understand the challenges that women face when it comes to delivering health and well-being solutions. And I have seen the issues that arise on both sides of the table. And so HealthMary is on a mission to help with that, which is why we have launched this series of webinars. The first one is today, and there'll be many more to come in the future. But first, let us remind ourselves who we are. We are women. We are powerful. We're nurturing. We are life source. We are carers. We're builders. And we have raised empires and torn them down as well. Yet, in today's modern age, we are, for some reason, waiting to be seen and heard. This is why HealthMary has definitely put a stamp on that quote, Women Unseen and Unheard. And tonight, we're going to put a question mark on it and then answer it. Not anymore. HealthMary is about going back to our ancestral model of thriving, when women thrived together. In today's world, we are all in a way disconnected. And so that connection that binds us is diminished. Ancestrally, women did not need to ask for help. I hear a lot of women saying, well, we find it difficult to ask for help. The reason is because we were never meant to. We were meant to be standing side by side, firmly connected, mother to daughter, sister to sister, auntie to niece. That's how it was meant to be. And so HealthMary is here to try and make that connection again and to make us stronger together. So tonight, welcome to the first of many series of webinars to come. Welcome to Dr. Julie Hammond's talk today. Julie is a GP consultant and founder with a passion for improving postnatal care for women. She will discuss why the fourth trimester, those early months after birth, is often overlooked and what can be done to improve this. Michelle Knight is a consultant midwife who has supported countless women during one of the most powerful yet vulnerable times of their lives. Michelle will talk to us tonight on birth trauma, the role of intuition, and how holistic, compassionate care can help restore our confidence. Claire Thomas is a specialist nutritionist and burnout recovery specialist. Claire is passionate about helping women feel seen again when they are told by others that their exhaustion is normal or that there is nothing wrong. Tonight, she will shed a bit more light on this. Sam Sadeghi is a certified sleep coach and psychologist. Sam will talk to us about how the mental load women carry, especially the invisible work we do as mothers and carers, affects our sleep, our clarity, and our well-being. And Julia Waters is a solution-focused hypnotherapist. Julia works with women navigating anxiety, overwhelm, and identity loss. Tonight, she will guide us through mindset tools that can help us take back control. During the talk tonight, you can ask questions, and you can pop the questions in the chat. And Jess, who is one of our team members on HealthMary, will help us navigate those questions at the end of the talk. And so, without further ado, here's to taking back control, and I will hand the control and the steering wheel over to Dr. Julie Hammond.
Thank you so much for a wonderful introduction. I'm just going to share my slides now. Bear with me. And can everyone see my slides? Perfect. Oh, sorry, we started at the very beginning. Let's go back to the beginning. Perfect. Okay, there we go. So thank you for the lovely introduction. I hope everyone's keeping cool on this glorious summer day. Hope you've got your fan. Hope you've got your glass of water next to you. And prepare to enjoy us an insightful day or evening of talks. So first of all, I'm going to begin by talking about a group of women who are obviously unseen and unheard, and these are new mothers. And I wanted to speak about the loneliness epidemic and how it's impacting mothers' mental health. So my name is Dr. Julie Hammond. I'm a GP by background. I'm also CEO and founder of Mama, which is a digital health platform, and it's a community hub as well as a digital educational space which aims to support parents from preconception to the first 1,000 days of the child's life. I'm also writing a book called Beyond the Bump, Navigating the Fourth Trimester, which will be out next year. So first of all, I want to start by telling my story about my journey into the fourth trimester. So first of all, in those first 6 weeks after your discharge from hospital, everyone is celebrating you. You have lots of different visitors coming over. You've got family, you've got friends. You're always on the phone to someone. You're getting lots of text messages. And then after those 6 weeks, when everyone is excited to see baby, you suddenly realize that life starts to go on without you. Everyone goes back to their normal jobs, they go back to their relationships, they go back to their own families, and then you're left alone. And for me, I really suffered in this period because I lived far away from my family. I was living in Rochester, my family live in London. I was one of the first in my friendship group to get pregnant. And then after 4 weeks, my husband went back to work and he was working away from home. So there were some days where I was spending up to 12 hours a day at home on my own, and I felt incredibly isolated and alone. And I found myself really longing for like real connection and adult conversations, because I became like really, I was speaking to my postman on a first name basis. I was also saying hello to the cashiers, trying to strike a conversation with them because I was so lonely and bored at home. And yes, my baby is wonderful. I love him. I love them now so, so much. However, after a period of time, there's only so many times I can watch Miss Rachel or sing Twinkle Twinkle Little Stars. I start to go a bit crazy and I need to speak to someone. I need to have adult conversation. I need to feel like me again. And I just felt like I was losing my identity and I was really unsupported during that time. And then I ended up experiencing postnatal depression and also anxiety as a result of this. So some of the common causes of isolation in this period is that you lose your community or there's a loss of community in the village. So we spoke about that at the very beginning, where in previously women used to grow up and used to have your neighbors around you. They used to come and say hello. You used to be able to go across the road and ask your neighbor for a glass of milk or some sugar. You used to have your mum just living down around the corner from you. But now, because of cost of living, a lot of people find that living far away from their friends and also their family. They also may find that even if they do live close to their family, that the parents may still be in full-time employment, especially with retirement age increasing year upon year. And there's also been a decline in terms of communal spaces like library and children's centres. And on top of that, there's also this super mum or superwoman myth where there's just when you have a baby, you're expected to make your sourdough bread in the morning, you're expected to make your baby's meals from scratch, your house is spotless, you look amazing because you go to the gym and you go for a walk every single day, and you don't need any help. You can do this all on your own. But I found that I was completely struggling. I was not making sourdough bread. Those days wasn't even making any dinner. I was having cereal for dinner. I was often not even up and dressed or brushed my teeth by about 6 o'clock in the evening. I was really struggling. I was really alone. And when I went online, I saw no one who looked like me. So I really felt like I was the issue and that perhaps I was the one that was struggling and no one else was struggling around me. And then also, I've also struggled with that identity shift as well, of just becoming, not just becoming a mother, but of being seen as just a mother and not being seen as Julie, the doctor, the friend, the wife. I just sort of just was put into that motherhood role where my friends didn't even invite me out anymore because they said, "Oh, you're too busy with baby. I mean, I don't want to bother you." No one was calling me about their usual day-to-day dramas. And that I really did enjoy. I really did enjoy having those connections. But all of a sudden, I found myself being an outcast from my social relationship groups. And even like in terms of my partner, who just saw me as like the wife and or the mother at home, but he didn't really see me as his partner that he previously used to enjoy spending time with. And then the reason why this affects your health and your mental health is because it's one of the most lonely stages of life, even if you do have support. And there has been research to show that over a third of UK mothers spend approximately 8 hours a day alone with their baby. And 80 to 90% of new mothers actually report that they feel loneliness in this period. And 43% of mothers under the age of 30 in the UK actually say that they feel lonely all the time. So this is not just a one-off occurrence. This is something that's affecting lots of mothers, but it's often not spoken about. And in terms of some of the most at-risk groups, is most people most at risk include young parents, also immigrant and refugee mothers, mothers without supportive parents, or mothers who are looking after a child with any sort of significant health problem. And also there's the transgender and also non-binary parents as well who feel very isolated in this period of time. And it's been found that loneliness is related to perinatal depression in about 33% of cases in new mothers. And in terms of the health impacts, because you're lonely and you become maybe depressed, you often start to do unhealthy behaviors. So you might start snacking a lot more. People may smoke, people may drink. And a result of this, you can actually, studies have actually shown that the health risk is comparable to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. So why does loneliness matter? So loneliness can weaken your maternal mental health, which as a result can lead to depression and anxiety. It can also affect your ability to bond with your baby as well and affect your overall family dynamics. And there's a lot of shame and stigma, which often prevents people from actually reaching out and getting support in a timely fashion, which again is something that I struggled with myself. So, in terms of building your village and interventions that can help to combat this, I think there's been a big movement in terms of recognizing this stage of life or this transition into motherhood as being a significant part of women's life. So, the same way that you go through puberty, you also go into the transition into motherhood and then you go into menopause as well. So, these are three key areas of your life where you undergo significant physical, emotional, and psychological changes. And now it's been given the attention that it deserves. So, things that you can do if you're struggling in this period is that you can join in-person mum and baby groups or go to library, sing and play or read along sessions for social connection. Now, I went to these sessions for about 6 weeks before I actually found any real connection. So if you don't find someone straight away that you connect with, do keep on going. You're bound to find someone eventually who you can connect with. Also, you can consider joining Facebook groups and also WhatsApp groups as well to connect with other local mums in your area in case you don't want to venture out, because sometimes that can be a whole headache on its own getting out the house with you and baby. And there's also other online support groups like Peanuts, which is an app where you can connect to other mums in your area, and things like internet forums like Mumsnet as well can be incredibly useful. And I do know there's other organizations in your community that maybe adjusted or maybe created to fit mums like you. So in Kent, there's been recently a group that's been set up called Black Mums in Kent. And as a result, there's mums who also, I guess, look like me. They have the same cultural backgrounds and I do get some of the nuances in terms of transitioning to motherhood that is quite unique to someone from my background. So there's bound to be something like that in your area as well. So just to keep an eye out for it because these things do exist. And in terms of my key takeaways, I want to just really stress that loneliness is so common in new motherhood, but it's not normal. So just because something's common doesn't necessarily mean it's normal. It doesn't mean you should suffer alone. If you're suffering loneliness, like I said, do reach out to people to speak to for support, speak to your partner, speak to your family, speak to your friends. And if you find that you're really struggling with your mental health, do go and see your GP as well for additional professional support or see a counsellor. And I just want to stress that no one should feel alone in motherhood. And I would love it if all of you could connect with me on the HealthMary app, or you can find me on Instagram, LinkedIn, or you can join the waitlist for Mama. And here are some support groups that you can also get into contact with if you're really struggling. So thank you so much, Dr. Chinwe, for having me here today.
Thank you, Julie. We will go straight on to Michelle, please. Are you okay to share your slide?
Hi, thank you. Thank you, Julie, for that. I'm going to share my slide first so that we can get that on. Hopefully you can see it.
a snake. But snakes are scary though. I'm gonna draw lots of pictures.
Sorry. The lovely little voice there in the background. It just distracted me. It's lovely. Can you see my slide yet?
They've got cool hair.
Hi, can you see my slide?
Yes, we can,
Yes,
Michelle.
Yeah.
we
good.
are
Yeah, you've got
good.
cool hair.
Okay. So, hi, I'm Michelle Knight. I'm a consultant midwife, and I have been working in
Flamingo.
NHS.
No.
Might want to turn off your volume microphone. Can you hear the little noise, the little child?
Yeah, they've turned off their microphone now.
It's okay. It's fine. I don't mind, but I don't want them to sort of get too excited with what I'm saying. So I'm Michelle Knight, consultant midwife. I've been working in the NHS for over 24 years. I also have private practice as well. I've worked very much with women throughout the whole birth process, pregnancy, birth, and postpartum and beyond. And I'm going to sort of focus my talk today on a few things that we can sort of take forward, even post-birth or, after birth. I just want to, apologies, because I can't see my slide. So, but I'm just going to run through it, and because I know what's on it. So I've pulled out a few slide narratives on there, and I want that to sort of you to sort of understand that actually these are some of the things that a lot of the women talk about, especially when they're preparing for their birth, during their birth, and after their birth. And I want to focus on some of this from an intuitive and very much of a holistic approach. So the silence in birth, many women feel unseen and unheard during childbirth. They feel that nobody's listening to them, only them are experiencing the pain, experiencing the changes that's going on in her body. And this is a real difficulty for women when they really try and communicate. And it's a time when, Julie's also alluded to that you feel very much isolated and alone. And also after that, it's all about the baby, it seems. And again, Julie's covered that in her talk. But it's very much about, dismissed concerns about pain. People don't appear to acknowledge what pain you're going through. It's that loss of autonomy. 1 minute you're in control, all throughout your pregnancy you're in control, and then you become, whether you're birthing at home, in a hospital, or in a birth centre or anywhere, you then feel that your autonomy has started to be stripped away from you, and other people are starting to make those decisions on your part. And that is not right. And that is something that is really important for women to understand, that actually you have autonomy. You always had autonomy. You will do throughout the birth, and you will from beyond and going into the postnatal period. Trauma from medicalized birth is real. It's something that women experience. They feel that their birth expectations, if you like, haven't been met, or they went into their labor feeling very positive, very in control, and very upbeat, but they come out the other side feeling very deflated, anxious, disappointed, guilty. And all these feelings really, just merge into each other. So when we talk about, birth, there's that silence in birth that we don't ever know about. And that's really important. Taking back birth is something that, we all can do. We all, we talk about listening to your body. We talk about intuition. And intuition is a big thing in childbirth. We have the art and the clinical aspects of that, but we also have the intuitive side. When you're listening to your body and your body's telling you to do one thing, but yet the other clinicians or maybe partners or family are doing the best by you by telling you something else. And I would say go back to that intuition, go back to that feeling of what your body's telling you, because it's what your body is telling you is what's actually happening. And that's really important. Birth is not just a clinical event. It is a personal, primal, and a powerful moment of a woman's life. And it's really important that she embraces that. And you can, and they can. Intuition in birth, as we said, is an innate wisdom. What is it? People say, what is this? Is it the woo-woo? We talk about the woo-woo. It's about, what is this? It's that innate feeling, that gut feeling when you think, I'm not sure this is right, or I really feel strongly that, this is what I should be doing. And that's what that intuition is like. It's listening to your body, listening to that gut, that feeling that's saying, I'm ready now, the baby's ready now, and I want to give birth. And I think it's not feeling that what you're feeling is not right, it's not real. It's very real. And it's important to acknowledge it, embrace it, and go with it, as we say. Informed narrative, reclaiming your birth story. Many birth stories women talk about, they only want to talk about maybe the bad things that happened. Families want to talk about the bad things that happened. Oh, I couldn't achieve this and I couldn't do that, or you won't. Oh, failure to progress is very negative language, and we need to change the narrative, because actually reclaiming your own birth story, whether it's something that you were planning for or you ended up with a cesarean section, it is not a bad birth. The birth is a birth. The baby is the one person we never counsel when we're planning birth plans or doing any personalized plans. They're the one person we cannot consult. Birth is a mechanical, it's mechanics, it's anatomy and physiology, and sometimes those dots do not line up, and sometimes the baby has another decide to come out in another way, and that's okay. And that is about owning and reclaiming your birth story. Your birth story is the most important thing to you, and the most important thing that you can share with everybody else. It's your lived experience. Looking at intuition in a more deeper way, I think it's about thinking about, you as the expert of your body. I talk about myself as that I'm a midwife and I'm the expert of physiological birth. Yes, I am. But I'm not the expert of your body, and you are the expert of your body. And this is what intuition is about. This is about thinking, I know what I need. I know when I need it. I know when I need to do something. And that's really about working with those intuitive feelings, whether it's pre-birth, whether it's during birth, or whether it's in that postnatal period. As Julie said, reaching out, asking for help. It's your body. You know when you need that help. Practicing. What do I do? Well, practicing tuning in daily. For those who meditate, meditation is great. For those who manifest, manifestation is good. But it's about thinking about what you do on a daily basis that can bring you joy, that can bring you real passion to what your life's all about. It could be being in nature, it could be being with friends, it could be being with family. Any of those things that you should really embrace yourself and just really ensure that you've got all that support around you. Your instincts is your power, and that's something that is really important, and that's why I go on so much about it, is that it is your power and it will never fail you. So it's really important to make sure that you embrace the intuitive feelings that you have. A holistic mindset. We talk about mindset all the time. We all manage our own mindsets. We have positive days, we have days which are not so good. But birth is not just a physical, as we said, it's emotional, mental, and spiritual. And it's about bringing that holistic mindset into the whole birth process and beyond. When you're feeling it's not gone right, then there are things that maybe hadn't gone quite the way you thought about it, but it may have gone very right. And I think these are the things that needs to be really embraced for women, for families, about how that birth process went for them. What does my body need to feel safe today? Honor your voice, honor your inner power, honor your inner woman, and your inner feelings. Balancing and knowing your rights and your rhythm and your movement and your tools is something that takes us all through our life span, and even through birth, through pregnancy. All of those things are really something that you can really bring to your experience. Rewriting the birth narrative. I've mentioned about the negativity and listening to those stories about, oh, it's difficult, I couldn't achieve this, you can't do that, oh, my birth was ended in this way, so yours probably will too. That's not true. You rewrite the narrative. You're the owner of your own story. You're the owner of your own life, and you can rewrite that narrative. Challenge the fear based on stories. Learn from diverse birth experiences. Learn from others. Tell your story as a powerful rite of passage. As I said, it's your story. Reclaiming birth, reclaiming yourself, reclaiming your womanhood through intuition, holistic mindset, and integration of preparation. And as I said, changing that narrative. Speak in the present tense, don't speak in the negative tense. These are some things we could all learn. Speaking in the negative, bringing back negative experiences only reinforces and realigns the actual art of that's what's going to happen. Negativity is a drain on our resources and a drain on our power. I'm safe, I'm strong, I'm capable. I'm birthing in power and not fear. Create a birth mantra that reflects your truth. And I just want to end here. I could talk for a long time about this, but I just want to end here about affirmations and how I feel and how you feel and what's going on. I'm going to give you a few affirmations that you can use that can either relate it to your pregnancy, the birth, if you're feeling traumatized or not yourself, please reach out and seek out some professional help. We're here to help you. But I want to leave you with these final affirmations. I am the authority in my birth story. I am the authority in my life. My body knows what to do. My intuition will lead me and will guide me. You are not alone. You are heard. I am the owner of my feelings and my celebrations. So time is come to celebrate it. And I just want to end it there. And as I wanted to just say about my slide, which I can't see, it was purposely in black and white. Life is not black and white. Life is colourful. But sometimes when you're going through birth trauma, it feels very black, and it feels some days they are white, but it's not, it's colourful.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Like I said, if you have any questions while our speakers are talking, please leave them in the chat box. I think we've got Claire Thomas next. Claire, do you want to take over?
Hi all. Thank you so much for having me here tonight. And it's wonderful to hear from people already. And actually some of what I'm going to share about, I think Julie and Michelle have already introduced. So whilst I'm going to be talking about fatigue, I think there's elements there of loneliness, of knowing your bodies, of feeling unseen and unheard. So I'm Claire Thomas, founder of Nourish to Soar, a registered nutritional therapist and NLP practitioner. So I'm just going to share a little bit more about my clients and a bit about my story as well. So I meet women every week who are running on empty. They think they're lazy. They think they're making up their symptoms because they have been dismissed so many times that they feel that the problem is in their head. In fact, I had a client who came in today, or a potential client, and we got talking and she started crying. And she was like, you're the first person in a long time who hasn't just gone, oh, don't worry about it, everything's fine. I was able to say, look, based on what I'm seeing and your symptoms, I know there's something going on there. And I think that's really powerful when we have the ability as practitioners to be able to say to someone, I see you, and it's not all in your head. And as she was talking, you know, she was talking about how she tried different approaches and she just didn't feel she was getting anywhere. Parts of her story actually mirrored my own. So 13 years ago, I was sat in a GP surgery and was told I would never recover from chronic fatigue syndrome, that my career as a children's intensive care nurse was over as I knew it. And that moment changed everything. You know, to be sat there, I loved being a PICU nurse. It was my ambition to go further. It wasn't to be, but you have to go through a grieving process of such. You know, I think we've already talked a bit about that. You know, the mental impact of being told that life or what you imagined isn't going to happen. And I'd love to think that 13 years later, things have moved on, but unfortunately not. I am still hearing women telling me that they feel dismissed, especially with blood tests. They feel that they come back normal, but they feel far from normal. They feel that their pain, their exhaustion, the brain fog just isn't taken seriously. Now, when I was told I wouldn't recover, I had a moment to grieve. But then I'm pretty determined. If anyone knows me, I think tenacious is the word that comes out quite often. I am pretty determined, but I will say it wasn't a quick fix to recover from chronic fatigue syndrome. It took years, and it was a multifaceted journey through learning more about nutrition, mindset changes, lifestyle changes, counselling, and the use of NLP. But bit by bit, I'm thankful to say that I did recover. But through that process, I really felt inspired to empower other women who were sat in perhaps in a doctor's surgery being told there was no hope, to say there is hope and there is a way forward. Because sometimes I think we can just feel overwhelmed in those positions. You know, I think Julie's mentioned it, Michelle's mentioned it. It just feels too much. And sometimes you just need someone to come alongside you and say, look, I've been there. I can walk with you through this. And I feel that with a lot of HealthMary practitioners, we've all got our own backstory, and that's how we're able to hold our clients' hands and empower them and move them forward. So that inspiration, I actually ended up leaving the NHS. So I was in the NHS for about 20 years before COVID, which was actually quite beneficial for me. Whilst it was hard to watch my colleagues going through that, it was believed swine flu had triggered the chronic fatigue syndrome, and COVID is very close. So actually I was a bit more protected. I studied at a master's level and actually got the ability to combine nutrition, lifestyle medicine and NLP. And I do remember as I was studying thinking, why didn't I learn more of this as a nurse? Why aren't we taught more of this within the NHS? But then it got me thinking, actually, why should we as nurses or medical professionals have to go in depth to the level that I was taught as a nutritional therapist? Why can't we work together? And that's my hope, that actually we can, conventional healthcare and holistic support can come together, because I feel that we've got a wealth of knowledge that when it comes together can support women to feel seen and heard. So 3 years ago, I launched my clinic, Nourish to Soar, where I now specialize in supporting women with fatigue, burnout, hormone imbalances, and metabolic health challenges. And it just allows the ability to go deeper. The problem is that chronic fatigue is really complex. It's not a one size fits all. For some individuals, it's stored trauma. For others, it's nutritional depletion, thyroid dysfunction, gut issues, mitochondrial damage, or often it's a mix. And it can be really hard, I think, for one practitioner often to be able to bring it all together in such a short space of time. If we look at a GP service, you get about 8 minutes. It's not long enough to be able to dive deeper. And I think that's the challenge with chronic fatigue syndrome. It's often reduced to a single label, when actually we need to be looking at the individual in front of us, because it's such a different and complex condition. It's trying to understand what is the root cause of the illness of the person in front of us. So a few stats that matter that I've come across that I feel are worth sharing: that 250,000 people in the UK live with chronic fatigue syndrome. Now, most of them are women. Now, interestingly, you kind of think, well, why is that? And I think it fits a little bit in with what Chinwe and Julie have mentioned about that isolation. We are trying to do it all ourselves. And I think that pressure adds to that, the system that is already depleted then becomes more depleted. And I think that an inability to say, can I have help? And that burden we carry as women, especially if you think about the mental load, I believe is part of the reason that we see more women with things like chronic fatigue syndrome. Since COVID, we're seeing a surge in post-viral fatigue, burnout, and long COVID, especially in women aged 30 to 55. And research shows that women wait longer than men for diagnosis and are more likely to have their symptoms dismissed, which really upsets me, because ultimately there should be equality amongst the sexes. And I feel like, being told that you're fine when you feel anything is so frustrating, and it chips away at your confidence, your identity, and you feel like you can't show up. We've already talked about, in the 4th trimester feeling isolated, but we also see the same in individuals with fatigue. And I saw this with myself. Your friendship circle goes. You feel like you just have to manage work if you can. Some individuals are bedbound and can't manage work. There's such a sliding scale of issues, but it becomes about survival, which then impacts the illness further. Now, I do feel that things are shifting, especially when it comes to women wanting to be seen and heard. I feel like we are saying, look, I've got a voice. I want to be heard, and I want to be, I want to advocate for myself. But that can be hard when you're exhausted. And that's where, I think finding support groups and that connection with community is really valuable. That could be through, other chronic fatigue syndrome groups. That could be through friendship groups, just kind of reaching out to friends saying, look, I'm struggling, can you help? It could be speaking with practitioners like myself, and just knowing that there is a way forward, that it's not a case of, we can work with the NHS, we can work with medical expertise and holistic approaches, we can come together. Because I do believe that women deserve to feel heard, but really heard, not just that, yep, we'll get to you, it's like, no, your voice matters. So I just want to finish by saying, I haven't gone a lot into like what you can do to support yourself because there's so much to cover, but I just want you to know that your symptoms are real, your voice matters, and there is a way forward. So thank you so much for listening to me, and you can find me on the HealthMary app or at nourishtosoar.co.uk.
Thank you, Claire. Sam?
Thank you so much. I've been taking notes from all the talks, so thank you, ladies. It's been great. So I am Sam Stevie, and I am a certified sleep practitioner for babies, children, teens, and adults. I am also a mum to a 8-year-old and a 10-year-old daughters, both girls. I am really passionate about women being unseen and unheard, not just as an entrepreneur myself, and obviously as a woman, but also as a role model to my kids. And my kids and I will frequently have conversations about how it's unfair, the way that women are treated, but equally how it's unfair that men are treated as well. But I'll not go into that. That's something else. So I want to talk about the invisible load that us women carry, whether we are mothers, whether we're wives, whether we are daughters, whether we are just friends, that invisible cognitive load that we carry. And we are just kind of expected to carry it. And as all the other ladies have said, we shouldn't have to ask for help, but we probably do need to, but we still don't. And frankly, cognitive load is just that constant mental chatter. It's that constant to-do list. It's all the things all the plates that we're trying to balance. It's all the 1,000,001 things that we know need to get done. And actually, it's probably just easier for us to do it rather than ask someone else or ask for help. Because by the time we've explained how to do the packed lunches or go and collect the medication for mum or whatever, actually we might as well have done it ourselves. So how does this then link into sleep? Well, it's probably not really that surprising that actually this constant mental chatter can keep us awake, whether it's when we're falling asleep, whether it's when we wake during the night. Ideally, it wants to take us about 15, 20-ish minutes to fall asleep at night. We all wake multiple times overnight. That's perfectly natural. We don't want to be laid completely prone, unaware of our surroundings for 7 to 9 hours. We want to wake up, check that everything is as it should be, maybe readjust our covers and fall back to sleep. The difficulty is that often when we have those awakenings, rather than just rolling over and going back to sleep, that's when the mental chatter starts to get really loud, and we don't have all the other stimulus going on around us, and so it gets really, really loud. And of course, because we can't necessarily do anything about it in that moment, it becomes even louder, and it becomes something all-consuming. Sometimes it can be something really ridiculous, or in the morning when we look back on it, it feels like it's really ridiculous. But in that particular moment, it's not. It's the end of the world. It's I forgot to send that email, or I forgot to top up the school lunch account, or I forgot to do whatever. And it can feel like the end of the world. And of course, we're not then going to go back to sleep, are we? Because actually, if we've got this constant thing, I must remember I forgot to do it during the day yesterday, I must remember to do it tonight, in the morning, we're going to keep repeating that like a mantra to make sure that we don't forget it. And if we've got that type of mantra going on that is stress fueled, that's not going to help us fall asleep. That isn't one of the lovely affirmations that Michelle was talking about. This is a stress fueled mantra that's going to keep us awake. So what are the things that we can do to try to reduce this hypervigilance that we have during the night? One, try to take the pressure off yourself. And I know that's so easy for me to sit here and say that to you, but try to take a step back. My mantra in life since I've had kids is everybody's fed, nobody's dead. And that's how I take the pressure off myself, because actually, quite frankly, do you know what? We're all okay. You know, the kids have clean clothes, we've got a roof over our head. If I've forgotten to send an email, whoops, doesn't matter. So just try to be realistic, try to take that pressure off yourself. One way that we can do that is by using a technique called constructive worry, which is essentially a journaling technique, which I would suggest you do sort of maybe around in the evening, depending on what time you go to bed. And the operative word here is constructive, not worry. And it's basically writing down, taking maybe 10 minutes in the evenings to write down the stuff that has been keeping you awake at night. So we're writing down the worries, but we're also going to write down ways that we can deal with it, so that when we do wake up, or if we wake up, because we don't have a crystal ball, we don't know that we're definitely going to wake up and worry about it. But if we do wake up worrying about it, we can politely remind ourselves that actually we already have a plan in place. We don't have to have that mantra going. We know how we're going to deal with it, or we know who we're going to speak to help us manage it, whatever that issue is, whether it's big or small. There's always going to be people. And again, you know, talking about that isolation and whatever, we can feel really isolated. And when we're not sleeping well, our brain isn't functioning as well as it could be. And so we don't want to interact with other people, because socially it's hard work. When you're tired, you don't want to make small talk. You don't want to necessarily be honest about how you're feeling. And certainly with some of the clients that I've dealt with, they've had issues for decades. And they've said to me, actually, it's just really nice being able to complain about my sleep to someone that isn't rolling their eyes at me. You know, so if you are that person who is constantly complaining about their sleep and people are rolling their eyes, you're going to keep everything in. You're not going to talk about it. So cognitive worry is absolutely wonderful. It can be really, really, really powerful. Try not to do it too close to bed. Any kind of journaling is really good. Had you said to me 5 years ago that I would be singing the praises of journaling and things like that, I would have told you that you were absolutely crazy. But I'm mid-40s now, and I'm completely and utterly, I'm right on that bandwagon. But it's because it works. It is just getting it out of your head. And in a similar vein, if you are waking up in the middle of the night and you are thinking of things and you don't want that constant mantra, pen and paper next to the bed. Try not to pick up your phone. The temptation is to pick up your phone, to put a note in your phone. And I did that last night, which never happens, but my kids have moved my notebook from next to my bed, and I just got cool, laid in the bed, suddenly thought right, I'll put a note in my phone. I went down a scroll hole because my sisters are in the States and I was responding to their messages at 1 o'clock in the morning. So even people like me get caught in that trap. So pen and paper next to the bed, as big a piece as you possibly can, so that you can properly scrawl and hope that you can understand your writing the next morning, rather than sort of one of those tiny little notebooks where you've got to properly turn a light on. If you can do it in the dark, then that's absolutely wonderful. I'm really conscious of time and I can get very passionate talking about sleep, so I'm going to leave it there. But the one thing that I do want to say is, I know that all you ladies are superhuman, but you can be a superhuman without being superhuman to your detriment.
Thank you very much for that, Sam. Thank you very much. Julia?
Wowee, how do I follow that? Let's that was awesome. Thank you, Sam. Right, everybody, can you, if I just move that down, how are my slides looking for you right now? All good on a big screen? Right, awesome. So I'm Julia and I am a solution-focused hypnotherapist. My practice is called Bad Bee Hypnotherapy. Now I know there's bunny ears around, so we'll keep the bad B. We won't go into what the B stands for today. But it's my job. Well, actually, it's my absolute privilege, really, to teach women science-backed ways to manage their mindset and to really just help manage their mental well-being. And so when I was reflecting on how best to help people tonight, I thought it'd be really great if we just started with how we can feel, like how anxiety can make us feel, and how we can like gently move forward from that after looking at a bit of brain science about how that really comes to be really a real part of our lives. So when we think about anxiety, I found this amazing quote. I really encourage people to look up Dr. Martha Beck. She's an amazing neuroscientist. So she's just fabulous. Can't sing her praises enough. But this quote for me, when it talks about anxiety, just really, really summed it up. And it's like the self-defeating logic of anxiety is it makes us truly 100% believe that the only way to feel safe is that we are never safe. So we're constantly living in this state where we're like projecting into the future what might go wrong. We're trying to anticipate all these things that might happen. And we just get really dragged into this spiral of anxiety that just really doesn't serve us. And it just makes us feel like totally it's just debilitating, really. And when we're in this anxious space and we don't feel calm and we don't feel confident, to expect ourselves to be able to ask for what we want, to feel confident, to advocate for ourselves, is just right impossible. So we need to really just start to understand how that anxiety is manifesting and how it's showing up. And what I talk about a lot with my clients in hypnotherapy is the different parts of the brain. And the part of the brain that is creating that anxiety is that original primitive part of our brain. I will probably refer to him as he. I don't know why I've decided to call him like the little chappy in our brain. But yeah, for me, primitive brain is he. His fancy name is the amygdala or the limbic system. And this part of our brain has really just been with us since the dawn of time. So it's the original primitive part. It's the part that would have kept us alive when we were cave women back in the day. And if you think about like the kind of threats that we would have been exposed to in those days, it would have been things like other tribes people coming to take our food, wild animals, harsh winters. So they would have been things that were really like they were challenging to our survival. Now the thing is, and that this part of our brain always responds by thinking about things in the worst case scenario, because it needs to think about the worst case scenario because we need to survive. And the modes that it operates in the primitive brain is anxiety, anger, depression. It can be a combination of all three. And because it's there to preserve your life, those like thoughts that come to us when they're driven from the backing of anxiety and anger and depression, they're very emotive and they're very powerful because primitive brain doesn't want us to go through that. It wants us to remember those negative experiences. So the next time these situations occur to us, it flags it very early so we don't actually have to face those threats and those challenges. And the part with our primitive brain, it's very easy to get stuck in that emotive pattern and we get sucked into that anxiety spiral. And the more we get caught up in our anxiety, the more the primitive brain is starting to run the show. Because the good news is we do have another part of our brain, which is our logical brain. It's our prefrontal cortex. And this is the part that we know as you. And it's the part that makes you just amazing. It's where you have all your lovely communication skills, all your learned skills, all your informed experiences. And because we've got all this wonderful knowledge and all this wonderful experience that we've accumulated through life, when we receive data in from an outside world, what part of our brain, when we receive our experiences, that assesses it from like a real standpoint. It doesn't load on any emotion, and because of that reason, it tends to be quite logical and it tends to be quite positive, and it will go, it is what it is, and that is how it is, and we'll deal with it this way because we can do this and we can do that. And that is our logical brain. But when we're fully starting to go down that anxiety spiral, we tend to shut off all of that lovely knowledge. And then we get into, with this little chappie taking control, who, again, he thinks it's still the cavewoman days. He's assessing that email coming through, that thing that we've forgotten to do on our to-do list, like traffic on the road, being late for the meeting. He's assessing that at the same level of threat to things like parts of our survival that would have occurred back in the day. That it's thinking about the email that we haven't sent as the same as like the wild animals coming in to achieve us. It's like life or death.
Sorry, Julia, just a quick one. Can you move your slide across? We can't see. It's just you're still on the first page.
Oh no, I'm so sorry about that. Let's see how I can get that going again. One second. If I reshare it again, let me try that. Apologies, everyone. I'll share my desktop so you'll all be able to see yourself. And then if I share, can you see that?
Yes, so you're on page 2.
So you can see lovely Dr. Martha Beck's quote.
Yes,
and yeah, it is really, as I said, so it makes us truly believe that, the only way to feel safe is to never feel safe. And then just to recap quickly, because you can see it now in visual, you've got lovely little unhappy primitive brain here, and then you've got our logical brain, which is the part that we know as you and is doing all the wonderful thinking, and that's the part that you want to retain cognitive function and be in as much as you can. And so the primitive brain, just to recap, is that emotional part of our brain. It wants those experiences to be powerful. And that's why when we have those thoughts, such as, I'm never listened to, this is just the way it is, I feel so helpless, I'm never going to feel better. This, because it's driven from this part of that brain, that is why those experiences and those thoughts are so powerful, because they're emotion backed. And in terms of like moving forward, like everything we've learned, it's better that we do it in a gentle way, because the small changes are where we actually want to make those changes stick. And it's the best way we can make those changes stick. And when it comes to our brain, scientists used to think that our brains were like porcelain, so they were fixed. That was it. It was job done. We couldn't move forward. And so what we know now about our brain is it's actually like Play-Doh, and we can mold it and we can adapt and we can learn wonderful new habits, whether that's a new skill like to take up like playing the guitar, or just to gently help ourselves navigate to a place where we feel able to advocate for ourselves in a gentle way. And that is what we know as neuroplasticity. It's just that creating those new pathways and those new mind maps in the brain. That is what really help us when we start to make changes and move forward. And in terms of like practical steps that we can take to start building that neuroplasticity to feel calmer and more confident, can we see that slide now about just small steps? Amazing, thank you. So sleep, Sam's just smashed this out of the park, so I don't even need to cover this. So sleep is key. If you ain't sleeping, it's all going to go to poop, basically. So sleep is key. And also what I talk about a lot with my clients is serotonin, which is this wonderful neurotransmitter that we have in our brain that just helps us cope better with life, and it helps us feel more motivated. And the ways that we will build and we will produce serotonin is by doing positive actions, positive thinking, and having positive interactions. So like having this lovely conversation, just being here, being amongst you amazing women, this is really getting my serotonin going, and it's just awesome. So sleep and serotonin is a really great place to start. Then it's like when these thoughts come up, when we're feeling like, I'm never going to make anything of myself and feel so tired, I'm never going to be able to move forward. A great one that always comes up for me, you can't stick to anything. You're just going to keep just repeating the same patterns sometimes. When these thoughts turn up, it's just a matter of if we can, just observe them. But if it's too much to just try and observe them and not address them, we can just go, okay. And this is a great one that I know that sports athletes use. So for example, in that scenario, that when they start exercising, their brain may be saying to them, you've not trained enough in the past, you're not fit for this race, you're not ready, you're not hydrated, you've not slept well. And it's a matter of like, if we can't just let those thoughts just pass by, just going, okay, because then in a way, we've calmed primitive brain because we've addressed it and we've said, okay, fine. And we haven't completely dismissed it. We've just gone, okay, heard, understood, acknowledged, but we're letting it go. And then another great thing, as Sam said, is about journaling. It's like, it's very cathartic to just get it out. If those thoughts are just overwhelming you and it's just really it's just too much, just get it out of your brain, because it's just not taking up that space anymore. And then as we just gently start to move forward, when we're perhaps sleeping better, we're doing some lovely positive baby actions, indulging in your passions, which is very key. Michelle said that earlier on. Like when we're doing those lovely things, the visualization, we can start to say, okay, so if I was feeling more confident, or if I was feeling better in myself, what might change look like? What would I be doing differently? And with our brain as well, when we're creating those, like we've learned how magic it is when we're creating those neural pathways, in our brain, there's very little difference chemically when we imagine things to when we actually do them in real life. Hence why things like sports visualization, manifestation are so powerful, because we're giving our brain a clear objective, a clear sort of blueprint of what we want it to look like, the future. And so we start to it's given us focus, and we can start implementing the actions. And then when it comes to actually bringing that visualization into real life, it's about the tiny course correcting changes. When we try and do everything all at once, we're going from our comfort zone, where primitive brain is quite happy because it knows what to expect. Doesn't mean that we're like, our primitive brain is happy, doesn't mean that we're happy. Because happy and safe, as far as our primitive brain is concerned, is not the same thing. It just wants us to be safe, not necessarily happy. So we're doing the small changes. We're stepping out of our comfort zone into the challenge zone. We don't want to go into the terror zone when we're trying to change everything, because that's when it's too overwhelming for our brains, and we go right back into our comfort zone. So it's like a change on the level of, like, if it was, for example, like clients that come to me, they're struggling with eating. If they're eating 10 biscuits a night, I'm like, eat 9.5. If clients come to me and they say, I want to like learn to meditate for like 30 minutes a day, right, let's try 30 seconds, or reading a page or a paragraph of like a book a day. Whatever you want to do, it's got to be tiny change to start building that lovely neural pathway. So easy, why would I not do it? And that is the level of change that we're going to be able to course correct and just start shifting the dial to feel calmer and in a better place to advocate ourselves. And if it's all going horribly wrong, I would just encourage you, and you're having a day and it's a nightmare and you've shouted at the kids and you've shouted at people on the road, we all have them, just go back to a simple breath. It's a simple inhale, and then just a longer exhale, just to settle yourself, because it sounds a very powerful message to your nervous system. You're okay, because you can't breathe phonetically in a calm state. So that calming breath makes you just take control, regroup and refocus, and you're all awesome and you can do it. Just give yourself the grace, as you would any of like your peers or your friends, to move through this journey as you would anyone else.
Thank you, Julia. Thank you so much. That was brilliant. Jess? Oh, Jess. Oh, there you go.
Yes, just sharing my screen. Can you all see that?
Yes.
Yeah. So thank you so much to all our amazing practitioners that have shared with us today. That was all really inspiring. And I thought I'd just tell you a little bit about the app while everyone is here. So who am I in the HealthMary app? So I'm the social media manager and content creator for HealthMary. And I just have the privilege to be around people like this. And although I'm behind the scenes, I'm always reading about what people are doing and new practitioners coming on board. So it's very inspiring for me, and just being involved in this kind of work. So the HealthMary app is, for people that don't know and people that may be new here, is a health and wellness platform which connects female practitioners like the ladies that you've heard today to users in a safe and empowering place for women. It's if you're using it as a user, you can book directly through the app with good flexible timings, easy access appointments. You can interact and learn in a safe space about female problems, which isn't always on other apps that we have, because I know Instagram and Facebook and TikTok, there's always negatives to that side of social media. So Chinwe and Naomi wanted to create a space for women who, you know, can share their problems and other people can relate, and it can be a nice welcoming place for all women. And then if you join as a practitioner, which you'd go through a signing process with Chinwe, and you learn all about that, you can showcase your professional profile, build trust with users, easily set up availability so people can book with you, and just network and collaborate with like-minded female professionals. So I hope you can still see my screen. The app looks like this. So as you can see, we have just so many different industries on here, from aesthetics and beauty to menopause. And I mean, even the ladies we've heard from tonight, such a range of different topics that is spoken about. Here in the middle is one of our practitioners at the moment, Francois. It's just an example of what it looks like on there. As you can see, you can request an appointment, you can find out about them, qualifications, rates, and availability for them. And then here on the right is what the explore page, the reels page, looks like. And this is where our practitioners share posts and tips and everything, really, based on what they're doing or what they want to talk about. So this is what our app looks like. What I'm going to do is just leave that up there for a little while I answer some questions. I think I can do both. I don't know though. And if you join today, you'll automatically be entered into a draw for a surprise prize. So I don't know how I can answer questions at the same time.
I can do the questions. I'll start actually, because I've got a question for Julie, Dr. Hammond. So Julie, you know, one of the major issues is the time families can have with the GP. Because I know you guys do not envy you, by the way. You've got like 10 minutes to have a consultation with families. Just can you explain how someone can prepare and make the most of the time they have with the GP when they do come to see you in your surgeries?
Thank you for the question. So one of the things I always tell any patient who's coming to see us is that they should always write down the questions beforehand. So write down any questions that you may have, any concerns that you may have. Also, if you make a list of all your symptoms that you're concerned about. And sometimes when you bring out your list, we're a bit like, oh my gosh, but ultimately it does help us get to the point a little bit more quicker, and also allow us to find out what's really your main concern. So just make sure you write down your list. And sometimes people, when they go in to see a GP, they can feel quite intimidated, like they have all these questions that they want to ask, but the minute they get in front of a doctor, it all goes out their heads. So something else I also recommend is that if you're a bit fearful of us, we're lovely people, no reason to be scared, but if for any reason you may feel a bit anxious, a bit nervous, then bring someone along with you, someone that you trust, obviously, to know your medical information, who can speak on your behalf. So even if you're asking the question, you feel like maybe it's not been addressed properly, they might be able to pitch in and be like, oh yeah, weren't you concerned about this, Naomi, for instance, and then they will respond and then they will then we'll respond back to them as well. And also something else I say to patients is that if you don't understand something as well, do ask the doctors to clarify, and keep on asking them to clarify until you fully understand what's going on. And something else you can also do is either ask the GP to send you an information leaflet, which is very easy for us to do now. We can send you links to your phone, or you can also just say, okay, oh, can you say that again? Or can you write that down for me just so that I can fully understand what's going on? And then finally, download your NHS app. So with the NHS app, you can check your blood results, check your scan results, and also check your consultation. So if there's any mismatch there, you can just access that information and be like, oh, actually, I'm going to go and speak to my GP surgery because something there's not adding up. They told me it was fine, but why is it red on the records? So it just allows you to really clarify certain things that may get brushed over because of our limited time.
Thanks so much, Julie. That's amazing. We've got a comment here from Terry. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist and hypnobirthing educator. Oh, well, welcome to the webinar, Terry. I joined today as I was curious, loved the content and core beliefs. I think this will really grow, and now I would love to be part of it. Yeah, thank you, Terry. That is amazing. I think you can get the sense from today's talk that all of these women who are on our panel today, who are HealthMary practitioners, have their own businesses, have their own expertise. But as a collective, we're coming together on HealthMary platform. Almost all of them have had lived experiences, and that is why as a group we are entirely unique, because we come from a place of true passion and experience, and therefore purpose. Thank you, Terry, for that comment, and I look forward to catching up with you soon then. Julia, you work with women who often feel invisible or disconnected. What does it look like when they begin to feel truly seen again? Oh, this is what kind of interesting, because you must see the whole transformation, isn't it?
It's so wild, and it's like I feel like because we are working. What we're really aiming to do is we're just trying to, as I said, it's about those baby steps, trying to move people forward, and just really like my job is just to support women, just to like play around and explore the potential scenarios of what that change might look like, and help them to gently move forward. And also give their brains the space to ponder that change. So we'll typically like do some relaxation just so it gives their brains to ponder it. And what we're doing is we're focusing conscious and subconscious mind together, and we can work quite quickly. And it's really interesting because when women come to me, and usually like the first, like most people will cry, some people will be quite mad. A lot of people's primitive brains, as I said, it will be anxiety, depression, or anger. So sometimes people are like, well, what are we doing? I don't know. This is never going to help. But it's just about it. We do a few sessions, and gradually it's just like the brain starts to get what we're trying to do. As those pathways start to build, it's just really, really great to see women come from being completely disempowered to just finding in a different, just in a way that they can just start moving forward and doing things that they thought that they couldn't do. And it's funny because when we start looking at those small changes, because we're building real life confidence and real world evidence, they can very quickly then start to tackle the bigger things that they want to do, whether it's a new job promotion, a new skill, learning to do like sound baths, quit drinking. They can quickly bring about their changes. But as I say to my clients, it's like they are the magic, their brains are the magic. We're just playing around and just finding out what really works for them.
Thanks very much, Julia. I think we're getting questions from outside the platform, because I think this is Michelle, this one's for you. How can women advocate for themselves during birth when they feel dismissed? Yes, that's a big one, isn't it? Because you're really in the throes of things, isn't it? To get the headspace to actually say, well, actually, I don't want that, in the middle of the whole thing, the whole birthing thing. How is that even doable, you know?
It's a very, very good question. And it's one that we acknowledge a lot. So when we talk about birth planning and birth preparation, and birth planning is very useful. And it's personalized planning is something that you can put your thoughts down on paper. We talked about journaling. We talked about putting how you feel down on paper. You can put all your thoughts down on paper in a birth plan. Now, there's people say, oh, nobody reads those plans. Nobody looks at them. And we do look at them, and we do know what your sort of thoughts and feelings are about how you'd like things to go, what you want to do. But that true advocacy in the moments of when you feel, as you said, dismissed or vulnerable is sometimes hard because you can't voice how you feel at that moment in time. So a good method here is to have an advocate with you. This could be your partner, this could be a friend, this could be anybody you feel that would be a very good advocate to bring with you, and they can speak on your behalf, is one way. The other way, as we said, is to write it down, journal it, and bring it with you. The other way is to think about when you're wherever you are having your baby, wherever that may be, is that you are in control. And I know this sounds really difficult for people to understand, but you are in control. Nobody is going to do anything to you without your consent, without discussing it with you, without understanding that you understand what's going on. And that's really important. So there's no need to feel frightened, nothing's going to happen. But I do appreciate sometimes, as I said earlier, that the baby sort of takes over all of those emotions, because the baby is the other person in this partnership that we have to respond to, that you are responding to. And they may dictate the outcome. They may be the ones that take us off on that tangent, that sideline, and that's difficult. But centralize yourself, stay in control, advocate through words, through a friend, through a narrative, and through a partner. The thing with partners is they're adorable and we love them, but they are watching their loved one in pain or in distress, and that gets to their emotions a little bit, and they get a little bit edgy and a bit tetchy, and that's hard for them. They are the voyeurs of this whole journey that you've both going on. So partners is sometimes a difficult person to put into that position, but hey, you know, some partners step up to the plate many times to really stand there in your space to support you. And it's finding, I'm going right back to what this talk's all about, and it's finding your inner woman, finding your inner strength, finding your inner power, and you will do it. You will advocate for yourself, because in those times when you need to, you will.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Julie, you have your hand up.
Yes, I just wanted to add to that. So I love the idea of a birth plan, but what we often forget is that what happens after baby arrives? What happens when you go home the day after, day zero? What happens? So I also say have a postpartum care plan as well. So things that you need to help look after you in that period of time. We always focus on baby and deliver and have a wonderful delivery. Hopefully, many of us will do. But what happens when you get home? So I also think about that as well, because that's a very important part of your journey. It's an important part of the transition as well. And again, Michelle mentioned about your partner. Sometimes they don't really know what to do, especially if you're breastfeeding. There's like a bit of a spare part. They're kind of like, what do I do? And then you might be too exhausted to even communicate that with them. But if you have it all written down about ways in which they can support you and you think about it beforehand, then without you having to communicate, they're like, this is what I can do. And even you can give it to your friends and your family as well, because again, they might also be like, oh, what does she want me? She wants us to leave her alone. But if you're like, no, or maybe yes, leave me alone, but chop food or come by and just clean up the house, then at least everyone will know how they can help to support you in that period of time. So also think about that. I think we should have a conversation about joining the two together.
Thank you, Julie. We've got a comment and question, I think, from Katie Daniels. So Katie, I will take time to read this out, because I think Katie, has put this question and comment out here. So it'll be good for us to hear her out as well. So Katie says, hi, I was diagnosed with PMDD in December 2024 and had been suffering in silence for over a year. Sorry to hear that, Katie. I would isolate myself, have suicidal thoughts, and feel the world would be better without me. This was within a year following my second birth. I visited my GP, who just told me it's normal, you've just had a baby. But I knew it wasn't. It took a few attempts with the GP before I finally felt validated and safe to speak up. I was so frightened that my children would be taken from me. I was then diagnosed by a psychiatrist, started on SSRI and began CBT. I just feel women's health isn't taken seriously enough. So I really appreciate these sessions, which help spread awareness. So thank you so much for your time. Just wish I had joined a session like this at the time I was suffering. Oh my goodness, Katie, thank you so much for that comment. It means the world to us. And yes, we hear you, we see you, girl. We see you. All of our practitioners here are women. We quite literally have these experiences between us, and thank you for sharing that. That's just so moving. Thank you. So I think what I would do, because we're kind of short of time, I am going to conclude the session now. Hang on. Can we take one more question, guys? Everybody happy for me to do that? Yeah? Okay, cool. So Sam, if someone feels they have tried everything to sleep better, what's the first thing you would want to explore with them? And I'm actually going to add to that, because a lot of us don't sleep well because our kids don't sleep well. You know me, I'm big on sleep. So Sam, what's your approach generally when an individual, especially moms, come to you with sleep difficulties, knowing that the whole family may not be sleeping well either?
Yeah, so I like to get a really good history of what's gone on, how long it's been going on for, was there any sort of triggering events, What have they tried? What was there anything that may have worked a little bit? So this is for, you know, exactly the same approach for families, whether it's a baby from 6 months plus or whether it's, you know, a 8-year-old woman. Just trying to get that really full idea of what's going on for them, and what they've tried, because when we are in that desperation, when we are in that moment of not sleeping, and especially if it's gone on for a while, it can feel like we really have tried everything. But sometimes there's tweaks that we can make to something that you've maybe tried before, or there are different ways of approaching it that we can do it. But also sometimes just having that accountability, certainly, definitely with families and also with adults as well. It's really easy for us to kind of go, right, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to have a bedtime routine. We are going to do the same steps every single night. Bedtime is going to be the same time every single night. But actually, it's really easy to kind of drop off that because stuff happens. So sometimes just having that accountability of someone kind of going, no, come on, you're doing it. Yeah, look, there's improvement. You know, that's enough.
Claire, why do you think women in particular are more likely to be affected by chronic fatigue? I think you might have touched on this already. And why are their concerns so often dismissed? Yeah, I think the second part of this question is really important, isn't it? Why are we dismissed? Do we not talk loud enough? Do we not climb on the desk and beat our chests enough? I don't know. What's the problem?
So from my experience, I think there's a kind of couple of areas to touch on. I think there is a real vastness, if that's a word, in GPs' knowledge, and that's not to criticize GPs, but I think it's so hard to get a diagnosis of chronic fatigue syndrome, and I think to have that understanding is really challenging. So some GPs are fantastic, like in my experience I've met some that are brilliant and some that don't have a clue, and I think it's like everything, you have a specialism, but it depends on the GP that you go to. We don't have the situation now where you see the same person over and over again, so things get missed, is what I hear a lot of. Also, if we look at research, women's research into women's health is still miles behind men. You know, and even things like hormonal fluctuations within the cell is not looked at. So we obviously have the monthly hormonal fluctuations and the yearly, lifespan fluctuations, but that's still not fully seen in research. And so I wonder if that is part of the reason that we don't fully understand a woman's body. And actually, you know, there's many conditions out there. I can think of endometriosis, another thing that just doesn't get the spotlight that it needs because we don't have the evidence base that we would like to have, because a lot of research, because it costs too much money, apparently, from my understanding, to look at the cell fluctuations from a hormonal pattern in a month and a lifespan. So I think we're still a long way to go, but I definitely feel that we're heading in the right direction.
I think definitely one of the missing link is this here tonight, where we are having the conversations within ourselves and empowering each other that way. That is a huge missing link, and hopefully we've come a step closer to it, and we're all getting a step closer to achieving what we want to see happen, you know, in the future. So brilliant, guys. I am going to share my screen now again and conclude the session. So thank you everyone for joining us today. Thank you to our speakers, Sam, Claire, Michelle, Julie, Julia. Thank you, Jess. Thank you, Naomi. And to all of our users, our invitees, and I say app users because I think that we might have some of our app users here as well. Honestly, I think, you know, to, in a way, summarize what HealthMary is about. HealthMary is about you as a woman. We're all about trying to help us feel less alone. It's about knowing that you're not alone and that you have the reassurance that should you need it, there are women out there who can help, who have walked your shoes. It's about being empowered to take action. And it's also about championing those female-run businesses who are now accessible to you. It's about when you need help, reach out to them. And for you, who is a woman in the business of providing health and wellness services, and for looking after your family and earning a living through it, HealthMary is about the solidarity that we have together as women in business. And it's about the confidence that your voice, your passion, your books, your seminars, your webinars, everything you're doing is landing in the right place, and your voice is being heard by other women who so desperately need it. It is feminism in business at its very best. On that note, I will say good night. And please look out for our next session, Women Unseen and Unheard, When Your Child is Different. This will be on Monday, September 29th at 7:30 p.m. UK time, and is free to join. And on there, we have the highly experienced Dr. Susan Oza, who is a consultant neurodevelopmental pediatrician with nearly 30 years experience looking after children with ADHD and autism. Dr. Natalie Corley, a clinical psychologist and award-winning author. Sarah Morris, who is a play therapist and specializes in neurodramatic play for children with autism and ADHD. And Wana Bora, who is a mom and advocate for children who have additional needs. So our speakers on that day will be absolutely fantastic. This is a topic that is obviously very close to my heart, and I am hoping that we'll have a great turnout again. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today.
Thank you.